When he moved to a house in Concord, Massachusetts, the great philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson was particularly thrilled with the orchard. He spent time each morning tending the pear trees, and he did some of his writing in the orchard. He also welcomed his friends there. Emerson sent some of his pears to the local show and was pleased when he received a visit from the Horticultural Society. They asked whether they might examine his trees. Emerson was pleased to receive them, but then discovered that they had not come to congratulate him. No, they had come to look at the soil that produced such lousy pears. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus tells a parable of the sower. Like members of Emerson's Horticultural Society, Jesus associated the success of a crop with the quality of the soil beneath it. So, Jesus tells a crowd about a sower whose seeds fall into various places. Some seeds fall on the path and are eaten by birds. Other seeds fall on rocky ground, spring up and die quickly because they do not have roots. Other seeds fall among the thorns, and the thorns choke them. Finally, some seeds fall on good soil and yield fruit. First, let's talk about the sower. What kind of sower is this? Is this a good sower? What do you think? Or more like a reckless sower? Recently, Juliet started growing vegetables in the backyard. She dug up the ground until the soil was nice and loose. Then she carefully sowed seeds. Tomatoes, green onions, pumpkins, cucumbers, and more. She did a good job. But I asked her, why don't you sow more seeds? I thought she was wasting the space. I thought that she could have planted more seed. She replied, I did some research. The plants need distance from each other so they can grow bigger. She was right. The result was good. She is a careful gardener and much better gardener than me. She made a plan before sowing seeds and carefully sowed the seeds. But here, in today's story, the sower doesn't carefully prepare the ground. Instead of sowing the seed with care or measuring the distance, the sower seems to be walking all over the farm, throwing big, wasteful handfuls into the air. What kind of sower is this? Well, God is like this sower. God wants to spread the seed of His words all over the places so the seeds can land on any kind of soil. God wants everyone to listen to His loving words, His message. God is the good sower. God wants to reach out to as many people as possible. When Jesus started His ministry, He didn't carefully select His audience. He didn't target the kind of people who would be most receptive. He reached out to the brokenhearted and abandoned ones from the society. He is the good sower, and His message is a good seed. Jesus also scattered the seed on disciples. Despite the failures of the disciples in understanding Jesus' promise, His words, He continues to invest in them. Jesus calls Peter the rock, upon which he would build his church. Even though Peter's understanding of what it means that Jesus is a Messiah is confused at best. At the time, maybe Peter's heart was like the rocky ground or the ground with many thorns. But Jesus never stops trying. He keeps investing in Peter. He tends the soil, Peter's heart. He even scatters the seed on tax collectors, sinners, lepers, the demon-possessed, and the outcasts. No matter how they look outside, Jesus sows a seed in their heart. The second thing that we need to focus on is the soil. Now, Jesus describes 3 different levels of human response to the gospel. Some of the seed falls on the pathway, some of the seed falls on rocky ground, some of the seed falls among the thorns. In each instance, the good seed cannot bring forth a fruitful harvest because of the condition of the soil. The pathways are packed hard from the pressure of many feet. Since the ground is not broken up, the seed cannot penetrate. In the same way, there are people whose hearts are hard. The word cannot penetrate. Those whose hearts are like the path are those who have been walked upon by others, the outcast, the despised of society. Their hearts are hardened by pain and suffering. We need to understand that good soil takes years to cultivate. It must be fed, nurtured, and replenished. It must be worked and reworked so that it becomes supple. God is a good sower, but also He is a good gardener. God can carefully soften your heart and water your heart with living water. Is your heart hardened by pain or suffering from the past or even the present? Ask God to tend your heart. We need to ask God to tend our hearts because from time to time we know that our hearts are getting hardened by many things around the world. Some of the seed fell on rocky ground and among the thorns. Seeds that fall on rocky ground and among thorns cannot grow because of the harsh environment. When people face trouble or persecutions, sometimes they stop following Jesus. Others stop following Jesus because they want to follow money or worldly success.